Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Joining me today is Justin Moran, the owner of Workspace and also a seasoned entrepreneur and sales and marketing executive with a proven track record of launching and operating successful businesses across a variety of industries. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to have a chat with you today.
Yes, me too. I haven't had anyone who is a co-working space owner yet, so I think it'll be a very interesting episode to have a new industry, so to say, on the show.
Cool.
For our listeners, Justin's full bio can be found in the show notes, but Justin, I'd love to have you start off by sharing more about you and what you do.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I started my career in sales. I've always been in sales in various industries, including financial services and IT consulting and software, as well as renewable energy. I used to be a wood pellet broker of all things, and sort of pivoted into the flexible office industry about a decade ago, and I've been having a lot of fun since.
What made you want to pivot into the flexible office industry?
Yeah, so I was a member at my Hingham location for several years. I was operating a business with two other gentlemen that lived in Chicago. I'm local to the South Shore, the last 15 years, and needed a place to work.
Mhm.
I had been in that building in the past with another company, so I was aware that there was a at the time they called it an executive office center, basically. So I picked up an office there, was working there, running my business for a couple of years, and the gentleman that was operating it was getting older, closer to retirement. And one day I just said, "Hey, Joe, what are you going to do with this thing?"
Mhm.
Um, it was sort of stuck in the 90s. I always joke, there was a fax machine next to the coffee maker. So it was sort of dated. And I was always the guy in a couple of different startups who helped get the infrastructure ready. Basically, I was always the guy that ordered the furniture and set up the network and got all the vendors together. And I was just looking around, and I just knew I could do a better job. And
Mhm.
there was a lot of buzz about flexible office and co-working. It was right about the time when WeWork started to explode. So it was just sort of it was in the mindset. And then in downtown Boston, Work Bar was getting much more popular. They had grown to 4 or 5 locations. So um, I just figured, why not? So I paid him a small fee for the contents and the goodwill, and that was 10 years ago. So
Wow. And you said it was only Hingham, and then since then you've expanded. Is that right? Or did he have multiple locations?
yes, it was only Hingham. And it was about half the size it is today. So I've expanded Hingham a couple times. About a year later, the landlord who owns the building in Hingham had this building in Canton where they had a small office center, if you will. They were looking to double it and double its square footage, its size, and just approached me. It was wondering if I wanted to expand to Canton. So quickly, in 2016, I expanded to 2 locations, and then just sort of settled in and started to learn the business because I knew nothing. I made all the mistakes, hopefully. By now, I've made all the mistakes. So just really dug in and learned the business for a few years after that.
Yeah. And then since then, you've built Cohasset, Braintree, and Beverly, I believe.
Yes, yeah, I operate 5 locations now. Really thanks to the pandemic, honestly. Millions of people were forced home for the first time. And well, like everybody at the beginning of the pandemic, we were all panicking, and me included. Like there was people leaving in the middle of the night, just
Yeah.
not caring at all about the agreement that we had in place that they were going to be there for another year or something. Um, so it was sort of panic mode. And then like 90 days later, the phone started ringing and it did not stop. Um, I was fortunate in that the locations that I was operating, I was able to keep them open. Others in my business were really struggling because their local boards of health were shutting them down. They couldn't have
Mhm.
the coffee maker on because it was a gathering point, or there was all kinds of stories like that. But luckily, I did not spend a single day at home during the pandemic, and just kept the places open, kept the mail going. And like I said, 90 days later, the phone started ringing because there was millions of people forced home for the first time, and it just wasn't working
Mhm.
for them. In-laws moved in, kids were home, or their office downtown was shut down, and they needed a place to stay productive. And luckily, I focused mostly on private offices.
Mhm.
So there weren't there wasn't like the social distancing thing going on. We had walls up. Uh,
Right.
so that allowed me to stay in business and then think about expanding. I expanded Hingham twice during that time. The very last person I shook hands with before the pandemic was an architect for a new space in Braintree. And then obviously that was put on ice. And then turns out that building had some availability about 18 months later. So I opened that one. And then the folks who owned the Cohasset location were just burnt out.
Yeah.
So that same year, I was able to acquire that location. That was an existing location. And then this past September opened up Beverly. So now we operate five.
My goodness. I'm curious to
Yeah.
hear with all the different locations. Like I know that for Dedham, for example, you'd mentioned that your landlord, I believe, someone had approached you about having space available, but I'm curious to hear how you picked the other locations. Like, did you research to see if it was something that people in that area needed? I'd love to hear more about that process.
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't know what I didn't know at first. So opening Canton was just kind of like, wow, it's a nice space. It seems like a nice community. I don't see another one around here. So that was the kind of the extent of it. Unfortunately, that's not the way to do it in this business. I've since sort of professionalized it with, hiring outside folks who do feasibility studies, and we look at demographics, we look at competition, we look at a whole host of things. It's an exhaustive process, and it's not cheap either.
Mhm.
Um, so that's what I've done for Braintree and Beverly, and like I said, Cohasset was an existing location. So yeah, there is an art to it. I do well in bedroom communities, operating flexible office spaces that focus primarily on private offices. While we do have some shared space at 4 out of the 5 locations, it's mostly private offices that we focus on. I find that if somebody is being forced out of the home, meaning working from home is just not possible, and they have this lovely $1.5 million house, and something is preventing them from being productive there. They want their own space.
Yeah.
They don't want to be shoulder to shoulder with somebody else. So that's really the need that we fill predominantly. We have close to 200 offices across 5 locations.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear too, knowing that you've had so many different, or been in so many different industries throughout your career, if
Yeah.
workspace is the only thing that you do currently, or if you also do other things as well.
So I still do sell wood pellets
Oh my gosh.
for home heating. Yeah, I am a broker, and honestly, part of the reason why I got into the flexible office business is because um, it was an industry several years ago that was ripe for roll up. A lot of PE money came in and started uh, buying up all the facilities that I was selling from, except for one. And I have a decades long relationship with this manufacturer. I've got over a decade's relationship with most of the customers. So it's not easy. It's not, automatic, but the product just flows, and it's fun. I still enjoy doing it. It doesn't take up a ton of my time. Um, so yeah, I should give it up, quite frankly, but it's hard. It's hard, and I don't want to leave these guys in the lurch, because they're good friends at this point. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
totally get that. And I think
I'm a-
that's also really admirable too, that you do balance both workspace and being a broker. And I think a lot of our listeners too are kind of in that space, whether they're juggling a full-time job and a side hustle or
yep.
whatever it might be. But I'm curious to hear your process for how you juggle both, whether you kind of dedicate certain time blocks to certain things or whatever it might be.
Yeah. So some parts of the wood pellet brokerage is reactive. So you've got folks calling on you to place another order. But there are certain times a year where you need to do planning. There are certain times a year where you need to be more aggressive in reducing inventory that might be at the plant. So there's just a natural rhythm to it that I've grown accustomed to. I've been doing it since 2006.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's not like it's old hat. It's not like it's the same day every day, but there is sort of a natural rhythm to it that I'm used to
Hmm.
and feel confident enough that I can still handle. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just hang on to it. I kind of think of it as the ski money. My kids love skiing, and the wood pellets help fund that.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at that.
Yeah.
And knowing that Workspace has those 5 locations now, do you have any plans or hopes to ex continue expanding, like continue adding new locations or even expanding the current locations that you have?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel comfortable with the footprint of each of the locations, except maybe Braintree. I might expand Braintree at one point. But yeah, for sure, uh, growth is on the table. We're like having just opened Beverly in September. I'm waiting for that one to get a little bit more on its feet and mature. We've got some exciting marketing initiatives coming up to help jumpstart some additional demand for all locations, but especially Beverly. And so when it's sort of stabilized and I feel comfortable, yes, for sure. I'm thinking maybe in sort of the Winchester, Melrose area or something like that
Hmm.
as the next target.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I
Yeah.
know, of course, you have a great team that helps to support all of these workspaces.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear more about that, just how you started building a team and how you knew which people were the right fit to add on.
Yeah, that's a super good question. I'm really fortunate right now that I have a fantastic team. I've had probably at least half a dozen prior community managers. That's the position that helps look after each location. But right now, I am really dialed into a great team, and they not only operate each of the different locations, but they each come with a set of skills that is really beneficial to the company at large. One one community manager helps out a lot with social media and a lot of different marketing initiatives. Um, Another one is a really talented video editor. As a small business owner, I'm sure all of your clients understand you need to be almost a media company too,
Yeah.
in producing things that capture attention and luckily I was able to find Tom most recently. He's the newest member of the team. He spent a couple of years in Los Angeles as a video editor.
Mhm.
And he's doing some different things creatively with a different job, but Monday through Friday he works for me.
Mhm.
And he's been a great addition to the team, creating some really cool stuff that we can share on social media to again capture some eyeballs. So yeah, and uh, everyone's super talented in their own right, and it really it takes that kind of a team when you operate, a company of this size, this lean.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier on that you've made lots of mistakes since getting into the
Yeah,
flexible office space. And so if you're comfortable, I'm curious to hear what those mistakes might be and what you've learned along the way. And along with that, what you wish you would have done differently if you knew what you know now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I always say it, the most dangerous thing in business is bad advice.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and the most expensive thing in business is undoing bad advice.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I I guess it early on, the worst thing I did was just choose the wrong vendor a, a, for IT support and phone systems and all that. Just was completely sold a bill of goods that was basically vaporware.
Mm.
And after a couple 3 years of beating my head against the wall and wasting money, quite frankly, I had to bite the bullet and I think initially spend like 25 grand on a new Meraki network for two of my locations. Cisco Meraki is what I standardize on now. Um, so yeah, I think just things like that. You just um, learn to see around the corner, if you will,
Yeah.
in business, like anything in life. So that yeah, I mean, I just the most dangerous thing, I keep saying it, is just bad advice and following it, because it can cause a lot of heartache, and then fixing it is always expensive.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point that you bring up is really, it sounds like from what you shared, like kind of trusting your gut and being able to know when to kind of cut your losses, so to say, and move
Yep.
forward. And I think that's a really important reminder for any business owner, really, as they're hiring or bringing in contractors, whatever it might be.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think probably, 7 or 8 years ago, after a couple of years into this, I think I just realized that, you need to spend money in order to save money.
Yeah.
Spending money on the right things that will make your business more efficient and just help everything run smoother. There's no free ride. So you
Mhm.
just gotta bite the bullet and take advice from folks that have done it in the past with the right solutions. And 9 times out of 10, you'll be on the right path.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that quote often because I say something extremely similar and it's basically
Yeah.
the same thing, but it's in order to make money, you have to spend money. So,
Yep.
similar to those lines, like being able to, like you did, for example, with your team, investing in them, that opens up your time to now focus on more of those revenue generating activities or things like that to more so drive business even more than you already had.
Yeah. Last year, I invested in a new co-working management platform, and I had been resisting doing so because, again, the first one that I had experience with was just, I like to say, an inch deep and a mile wide. They tried to
Mm.
do everything, but they did nothing good. Well,
Yeah,
I found this one called Optics about a year and a half ago, and uh, since then, they've been able to increase uh, my online bookings by like 50%.
that's
Uh,
unbelievable.
yeah, no. So like again, it's just choosing the right partner that has the right solution can really jumpstart certain aspects of your business that you had just previously been leaving money on the table.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned earlier that you have or know of other colleagues who also own co-working spaces. And so I'm curious to hear just about like the community aspect of like other flexible
Yeah.
office owners and just being able to chat and really meet with someone who gets it, so to say.
Yep, yep. And I have traditionally not been good at reaching out to that community, and I'm doing my very best to change that. Actually, just had a call last week with another operator in Massachusetts, and had just a great conversation. She's got a much more strong background in marketing than me, so I was able to learn a few things that I otherwise wouldn't have.
Mhm.
Uh, so I have pledged to myself that that's going to be an activity that I spend a lot more time with this year, because there's a bit of friction in our business right now. There's a lot of folks um, making changes. There's a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of uncertainty prior to the election. Now that there's been some uncertainty the last couple quarters post-election. So, companies are changing budgets. Things are just moving. There's people leaving. But it's all that same friction in our business also creates demand,
Right.
because someone might be giving up an office downtown because they're trying to save money, and but they still need a place to work. So, anyways, yeah, reaching out to folks that are perhaps dealing with the same types of issues in the same industry is super beneficial. And again, I'm going to do a much better job going forward in reaching out to those folks.
Yeah.
It's a great little industry. Everyone sort of gets it that's been doing it a while. So there's nothing that you're going through that they haven't already gone through or might even be dealing with at this time. So
Yeah.
it's great to lean on other people that are in the same boat.
For sure. And I love the point that you mentioned about with just the uncertainty that's going on right now, how it does create opportunities for businesses. Because I think
Yeah.
that, I mean, I know I'm guilty of this, but like circumstances outside of our control happen, I'm very much guilty of being like, well, what can I do now? This is negatively impacting me. But you just brought up a great reminder that sometimes those difficult changes can bring new opportunities that make things better. Like you said, companies that might be looking to downsize their space would turn to something like Workspace to have those flexible offices. So I'm really
Yep.
just glad that you brought that up because I think it's something important for everyone to remember right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's creating opportunities for folks that might, you know, might be let go from a large company, but have skill sets that clients or like type clients need. And
Hmm.
so, setting up their own consultancy or partnering with, someone from across town who's in the same boat and starting a business, it only creates opportunities for people like myself.
Yes, absolutely. If you, this is kind of a fun question, but if you weren't being the like broker for the wood stoves and then also
Yeah.
owning Workspace, like what would be your dream career if you were to pick one, if it was something different, or I'm curious to hear what your other interests are.
Um, oh God, I haven't thought about that in a long time, quite frankly. I would think it would probably have something to do with maybe one of my other passions. I love skiing. I love boating. Um, yeah, to be a yacht dealer or something like that in Florida. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool. Um, or something in the cycling industry. Yeah, I'm not sure. So something to do
Yeah.
with the outside, I guess, as I try to stay active.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say it sounds like outside of work you seem to be a really active person with a lot of different hobbies.
Yeah. Yep. And I've got three teenagers that, keep me young. And I think we skied 28 days this year, which is quite a bit for a family that lives in Situate, Massachusetts, which is nowhere near any mountains. So we were on the road quite a bit. We had a
Yeah.
lot.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And being in the South Shore area, I'm curious to hear what your favorite local businesses are to support and places you like to frequent.
Uh, yeah, that's a great question. Well, I mean, it starts with my vendors, quite frankly. Everyone that
Mhm.
supports all of my locations are, just the best. I love them all. I've really got a tight-knit group of folks that I'm super loyal to that are really good to me. My insurance guy, Jeff, he's one of my best friends in Situate. My IT guy I've been with for well over a decade. Uh, yeah, I mean, I just love giving business to the guys to the folks that support Workspace.
Mhm.
Got a lot of great restaurants in the communities that we serve that help us feed our folks every once in a while. So yeah, just giving back to the folks that are local. I try to always give business to um, local mom and pop type establishments. Yeah, just keeping it local. It's the best.
Totally. Yeah. For
Yeah.
Situate, I have to give a shout out to Untold. Untold is one of the best spots.
Yes, yeah. I live I live about half a mile from Untold.
Oh, that would be dangerous for
So I
me.
know it well. Yeah, it can be dangerous. I don't drink that much anymore, but yeah, that's a nice little brewery. They've
Hmm.
got some good product.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone who's listening to this episode who is potentially interested in starting a co-working space or flexible office space themselves, what
Yeah.
advice would you have to give to them? I know you mentioned earlier the importance of chatting with others in the industry
Yep.
and not making costly mistakes, but is there any other advice you could think of to share?
Ah, that's a good question. You know, uh, bring some money,
Mm,
I would say, and don't start small, because it is very hard in this business to make money with a small footprint. I've seen a
hmm.
lot of folks say like, "Oh, hey, look at this cute little spot. It's only a few thousand square feet, and geez, it would be so easy to fill this." And I think the math works. Let's break out this spreadsheet. No, it won't. So, um, bring a big bat and a bag full of money and go big and do it correctly because you will suffer if it's too small. I've seen that a few times. I think that would be the biggest piece of advice. But it is a super fun business, and I would encourage anyone who's got a passion for it and has um, well, honestly, the other piece is you better come equipped with some hospitality because this is
Yeah.
this is not a real estate business. This is not an office business, or you know that don't worry about the printer. Um, this is the hospitality business. If you think about, I'm sitting in a hotel room right now, um, and if you think about what I expect from an experience walking into a hotel room, the consumer of the flexible office business has the same expectations.
Hmm.
It needs to be clean, quiet, comfortable. The Wi-Fi better scream and the chair better be comfortable, you know?
Hmm.
So, and it's so much more than that. Because a lot of folks are, paying a premium for a service that works. So, a strong focus on hospitality is crucial for success in this business.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because that reminds me of something I think about often. It's the idea of it's much more important to retain your customers than it is to acquire new ones. So if you're
Yep.
not providing, like you said, a really great experience or being hospitable, then you're not going to be able to retain people. And then the new clients that you get, it's just not really going to end up panning out. So that's a really great
Right.
reminder of just really focusing on customer service and delivering on what you're promising people.
100%, 100%. A few years ago, prior to the pandemic, our average stay was under a year, and now it's over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously work has changed forever, and that's part of it,
Hmm.
meaning they need that spot but it's all about, making sure that the service level remains high, the space remains clean,
Hmm.
and you're creating a vibe that, people are attracted to and want to hang out in. And then one of the biggest sources for new leads for me is word of mouth. So if you treat people right, they're going to tell their friends, and that can only help grow the community.
Yes. Yeah. Great advice.
Yep.
Justin, this has been a really interesting episode, and I've enjoyed having you on the show to share more about you and Workspace and everything that you're doing. And now I'd love to have you share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to reach out.
Yeah, no, thanks. So our website is workspacema.com. So WORKSPACEMA.com. And yeah, would love to hear from anybody that might want to check out one of our 5 locations.
Perfect. And I'll link to your website and social profiles in the show notes that our listeners can easily connect with you from there. But thank you so much again for coming on today's show.
It's been my pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.